Thank you very much, Chief Secretary, and I want also to thank my Permanent Secretary and staff from OPC and my staff from my ministry. This afternoon, we are very happy to have my colleague ministers who are here to answer your questions. I do have Minister Honorable Mona, who is our Minister for Transport, and we do an infrastructure development. And then right behind, there is our Minister of Energy and Energy Development, Honorable Jemusoda, and we do have our Honorable Dr. Sekai Nzenza, the Minister of Industry and Commerce. So we welcome you to this afternoon's post-cabinet briefing. And once again, I would like to thank you, members of the Fourth Estate, for the support. Today, we are going to give you our 8th post-cabinet press briefing. First, we started off by getting a report on the Independence Anniversary celebrations in Children's Party. We all know we are getting towards 18th of April. Cabinet received an update on the status of preparations of the 2023 Independence Anniversary and Children's Party celebrations, and this report was presented by the Minister of Local Government and Public Works, Honorable J.G. Moyo, who is the chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on State Occasions. Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that the independence celebrations will be held on the 18th of April 2023, and this time it will be held at Mount Darwin High School in Mashonaland Central Province, and will be running under the theme, and I quote, Zimbabwe at 43, Nyika inovakwa nevene vayo, ilizwe lakiwa ngabandikazi balo. Unquote. In line with the government's devolution and decentralization thrust, the 2023 Children's Party celebrations will be held at Fura Stadium, Mount Darwin Center, on the 17th of April 2023, while the independence celebrations will be held on the 18th of April at Mount Darwin High School, that's in Mount Darwin Center. Learners who are coming to the Children's Party are being mobilized from all provinces for the Children's Party, as well as providing entertainment and mass displays. An additional 400 children will be drawn from the districts in the hosting province, which is Mashonaland Central, bringing the total number of children to attend the Children's Party to 1,500. The musical bands for the Children's Party will be as follows. There's Freeman Folds, Kosilati Sibaya, and Leo Magozi. The program will start at 900 hours and end at 1600 hours. His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, will lead in the planting of at least 43 trees on the 17th of April at the Independence Celebrations venue, and this is to mark the 43 years of independence. An assortment of fruit trees will be planted at the Mount Darwin High School orchard. Coming to the program of the Independence Day. The official Independence Day program will start at 600 hours and it will end at 1430 hours. Around 45,000 people are expected to attend the celebrations. Alik Macheso and Parazai Messi will provide entertainment for the main independence celebrations. They will be complemented by a cultural act of 100 artists who will synchronize with the 500 school children doing gymnastics, and they will be supported by the Zimbabwe Republic Police Band. In the afternoon, there will be a match between Dynamos and Highlanders for the Independence Trophy at Mount Darwin High School, and His Excellency the President will be the guest of honor. In the evening, there will be a musical gala, and several artists are billed to perform. And the venue for that gala is just around there, that's at Fura Stadium. The Independence Flame will be lit on the 13th of April 2023, and this will happen here in Harare at Harare Kopi. And then there will be a road show which will start from there and pass through Mazowe, Concession, Glendale, Bindura, Madziwa, Lotito, Rushinga, Chibondo National Monuments, Mount Darwin District Heroes Acre, and finally land at the Independence Celebrations venue. The flame will be received at Chibondo National Monuments by traditional chiefs in Mashonaland Central at a ceremony on the 17th of April 2023. Comrade KCD Mohadi and Comrade K. Kazembe will grace the occasion. Comrade Mohadi would then lead the lighting ceremony at Chibondo National Monument and the entourage to Mount Darwin District Heroes Acre. On the 18th of April 2023, athletes will collect the flame from Mount Darwin District Heroes Acre to Mount Darwin High School, which is the venue of the independence celebrations. Furthermore, an exhibition will be mounted at Chibondo National Monument to highlight the roles played by the masses and combatants in the Second Chimurenga War. Those in the surrounding areas are expected to attend the exhibition in numbers. Then, pertaining to roadworks being undertaken as part of the preparations, there are 3 contractors for the Harare-Bindura Mount Darwin roads. The companies are on the ground and works are progressing well. CMED has been engaged to undertake works on the 1.8 kilometer access road. Then Rural Infrastructure Development Agency, RIDA, formerly DDF, will undertake works on the following feeder roads: Darwin, Nyakasikana, Karanda, which is 30 kilometers. Then Nyakasikana, Mutondwe, which is about 18 kilometers. Darwin, Sakare, 42 kilometers. Chawanda, Mudzengerere, 24 kilometers. Kaziro Road, 38 kilometers. And Chawanda to Chironga, 30 kilometers. On water supply at the venue, the nation is being informed that ZINWA has provided a temporary water point on site and has currently provided water tanks for provision of potable water supply. RIDA, in conjunction with ZINWA, has drilled a borehole close to the site. ZESA has installed a transformer and a 2-feeder pillar on site. On Independence Day, a standby generator will be provided. Furthermore, load shedding has been suspended already in Mount Darwin for all this work to be done until after the celebrations. Those residing outside Mount Darwin should not despair, as the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services will broadcast live all the 4 events, namely the Children's Party, the Independence Day celebrations, the match between Dynamos and Highlanders, and also the gala in the evening. The ministry will provide T-shirts and caps for the 1,500 children and also brand 30 Zupco buses with the various messages which will be drawn from the theme. The ministry has also embarked on an information campaign through media, print, television, radio, as well as billboards to give publicity of the independence celebrations. Cabinet highlights that the delegates attending the celebrations will be encouraged to wear the national fabric. The nation is advised that there are outlets in major cities and towns which sell the national fabric, including in Harare and Bindura. Plans are underway to set up an outlet in Mount Darwin. There will be an exhibition in Mount Darwin starting on the 16th April 2023, whereby designers will market the national fabric. Then, regarding transportation for delegates, Cabinet is informing the nation that the host province of Mashonaland Central has been allocated 100 Zupco buses to ferry delegates from all the districts of Mashonaland Central to the venue. The other provinces have also been allocated some buses to transport delegates to the venue. Funds and buses have also been allocated to enable all the other provinces and districts to hold celebrations in their respective provinces. Then we moved on to get a report on the Zimbabwe's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and report on the procurement and rollout of vaccines. Cabinet received an update on the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic And this report was presented by the Chairman of the Ministers' Committee on the National COVID-19 Response, Honorable Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care, General Retired Dr. CGD N. Chiwenga. The nation is being informed that one death was recorded during the week under review. There were 3 new admissions compared to the 10 which were recorded the previous week, with no admissions in intensive care. But this demonstrates the fact that we are not yet out of the woods. Ministers of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution and their teams should intensify vaccination programs in their provinces. Communities are also being urged to remain vigilant, prioritizing getting vaccinated, and continue to protect themselves by adhering to all recommended COVID-19 public health and social measures. Then Cabinet received reports on the first 100-day cycle of 2023. Cabinet received reports on progress made in the implementation of priority projects for the first 100-day cycle of 2023, and these were represented by the following ministers. Minister of Industry and Commerce, who is Dr. Sekai Nzenza, then the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Professor Mutuli Ngube, then the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development, Honorable Mona, who is right here, and the Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Jemo Soda, who is also here. Under Industry and Commerce, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Dr. Sekai Nzenza, reported on progress on the projects under her purview as follows. The resuscitation of David Whitehead Textiles in Chegutu, that's in Mashonaland West Province, has reached 40% of completion. With state-of-the-art spinning and weaving machinery in place, the project will employ up to 1,100 people when complete. Then there is the refurbishment of the tar production plant at Zimkem in Kwekwe in Midlands Province, which has reached 85% of completion. Then there is the expansion and modernization of the margarine plant at Olivine Industries in Harare Metropolitan Province, which is almost ready for commissioning. The local production of margarine will reduce the volume of imports. Then there's another installation of a US $5 million margarine plant at Willowton in Mutare, that's in Manicaland Province, and that has reached 85% completion and will produce up to 150 tons of margarine per day when complete. It will also create employment for more than 50 people. Then comes the installation of a US $30 million state-of-the-art bakery plant in Bulawayo by Bakerzine, which is 90% complete. The bakery will be the biggest in Zimbabwe and will be producing 200,000 loaves of bread per day. And also there's the plant at Buffalo Brewing Company in Steppenford in Mashonaland West Province, which is now functional, and His Excellency, the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, will soon commission the US $11 million plant. Then we moved on to get the report from the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Professor Mutuli Ngube, who highlighted the following: that 618 billion Zimbabwe dollars in tax revenue was raised during the months of January and February 2023. And a total of 15 billion was disbursed towards social services provision. Then 204 billion has been availed for the following projects: Wange Power Station Expansion 7 and 8 received 3 billion. The Zambezi River Authority received 2.1 billion. Harare Bait Bridge Road 18.4 billion and about 14.8 billion on other roads. Water and Sanitation received 25.5 billion. Then ICT received 3.8 billion. Health received 19.5 billion. Housing 14.2 billion. Education 3.9 billion. Irrigation received 11.2 billion. Then when it comes to strategic grain reserve, 18.4 billion was put in there. In terms of capitalization of state-owned enterprises, 4.6 billion was put there. For devolution, 16.8 billion, and other capital items received 47 billion. These are all Zimbabwe dollars. Government mobilized 103.45 billion Zimbabwe dollars from the domestic market against the initial target of 8.3 billion. Then Cabinet received the report of the 100-day cycle from the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development, Honorable Felix Mona, who outlined the following progress for projects being implemented in his sector. Under the Beitbridge Border Post Modernization Project, landscaping and the cleaning of 120 housing units was completed, and the Department of Roads workshop, offices and houses are at 95% completion. There is also the installation of elevators, baggage carousels and escalators on the north and south wing of our international terminal building. This is here at the Robert Mugabe International Airport, and that has already reached 70% completion. Then there's the construction and upgrading of 25 kilometers of a section of the Harare-Masvingo Beitbridge Road to regional standards is above 60% completion, with 3 kilometers opened to traffic. The construction of the Mbudzi interchange has reached 37% of completion, and the construction of 10 kilometers on the upgrading project for the Harare-Kanyemba Road has reached 38%. We moved on to hear the report of the Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Jemusoda, who reported on progress under his purview as follows. 100% synchronization of Unit 7 under the Wange Power Station 7 and 8 expansion project in Matabeleland Province has been achieved. Unit 7 is already adding 300 megawatts to the national grid. Then the rehabilitation of the Alaska Karoi 132 kV power transmission project in Mashonaland West Province has reached 40% completion. Also, bush clearing on the Wayleave and surveying on 9.2 kilometers of the 33 kV transmission line to supply Mashuma Primary and Secondary Schools and Mashuma Business Center in Hurungwe District, again in Mashonaland West Province, was completed. Then the construction of the Great Zimbabwe 5 megawatt mini hydropower plant in Masvingo Province is in progress. There is also the construction of the Center Grid solar power plant, which is 23 megawatt in Nyabira in Mashonaland West Province, which is also underway. Cabinet moved on to receive a report on the state of preparedness for the 2023 cereal production season. Cabinet received and approved the report on the state of preparedness for the 2023 cereal production, which was presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. Anxious Masuka. The nation is being informed that the target for the 2023 winter wheat production is 85,000 hectares compared to 80,388 hectares which were planted in 2022. Out of the 85,000 hectares for 2023, 65% will be supported through government guaranteed schemes and 35% by the private sector. Government guaranteed schemes are the CBZ Agro Yield Program, the AFC Land Bank, and the Presidential Input Scheme, while the Food Crop Contractors Association, which constitute the private sector funding, will be complemented by some self-financing farmers. The projected production from the area that will be under wheat is 408,000 metric tons, based on the actual yield volumes of 4.8 metric tons per hectare, which was achieved this year, 2023. Food Crop Contractors Association will support the production of 7,700 hectares of barley and expects to realize 50,050 metric tons at a yield of 6.5 metric tons per hectare. Cabinet is pleased to inform the nation that during the 2022 cereal production season, Zimbabwe, together with Ethiopia, were the only countries in Africa that attained self-sufficiency in wheat, with 375,131 metric tons being produced against a national requirement of 360,000 metric tons. The nation is assured that the country has enough seed and basal fertilizer for the 2023 winter cereal production season, and for the top dressing component that is in short supply. And to that effect, government has put in place enabling legislation to facilitate the importation of top dressing fertilizers by local farmers, thereby ensuring adequate supplies, and this will be duty-free. Regarding electricity and water supply, the nation is informed that power supplies have been ring-fenced for the benefit of wheat production. The national dam levels are at 93.5%, thereby guaranteeing water availability. An agriculture energy task force will ensure availability of these critical enablers ahead of the winter season. Government has also put in place a number of measures in order for farmers to quickly transition from summer to winter. Those farmers requiring harvesting and tillage equipment can approach the FC Land Bank, while those in need of dryers should visit the GMB depots. GMB has 20 mobile grain dryers with a capacity of 840 metric tons per day that can be accessed by farmers. The private sector also has drying facilities for up to 100 metric tons per day. The wheat planting period covers the months of April and May. Accordingly, wheat farmers are encouraged to plant early and use high-yield varieties in order to maximize own productivity. Then Cabinet received a report on the implementation of Phase 2 of the Enhanced Emergency Preparedness and Disaster Management. The Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Retired General Dr. C.G.D.N. Chiwenga, as Chairman of the Enhanced Cabinet Committee on Emergency Preparedness and Disaster Management, presented the report on the implementation of Phase 2, and Cabinet adopted the report. Cabinet wishes to inform the public that construction work on 4 government-funded blocks of flats at Zorasekwa in Harare Metropolitan Province is expected to be completed by 30 June 2023. 37 housing units are being constructed for flood victims in Sungwale, that's in Binga District in Matabele North Province, while 13 households affected by the flooding of Marimba River in Budiriro, 5B extension, that is in Harare Metropolitan Province, were moved to Budiriro Training Center. Government, through the Department of Civil Protection Unit and Social Welfare, is providing food and managing the camp. Then in Masvingo Province, Runyararo West faces a similar predicament, with 25 properties being susceptible to flooding every rainfall season. A total of 6 households from Runyararo West in Masvingo City were moved to the Rural Infrastructure Development Agency, RIDA, which is formerly DDF. They have a training center there. Cabinet has directed the Environmental Management Agency to enforce the relevant existing legislation and the imposition of stiffer penalties on those local authorities who continue to allocate residential stands on wetlands. Regarding the mapping of settlements against approved layout plans, the Zimbabwe National Geospatial and Space Agency, ZINGSA, has completed its mapping assignment for settlements in Harare Metropolitan Province, Kaudri Park in Bulawayo, Gimboki in Mutare, and in Karoi. ZINGSA has acquired high-precision equipment which could be used to solve most of the surveying challenges being faced in the country. And the Cabinet has directed that the regularization of the Zimbabwe National Geospatial and Space Agency ZINSA as a survey institute be completed speedily in order to facilitate the issuance of title deeds to deserving beneficiaries. Cabinet is further concerned by the poor street lighting in urban areas. It is therefore directed that local authorities take the necessary measures to ensure that all street lights are functional and that visibility of signage is enhanced. Furthermore, the ERRP2 program will be exhibited at the 2023 edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, ZITF. On the Wetlands Management Program, Cabinet reports that Zimbabwe has declared Victoria Falls in Matabeleland North, Dreamfontein grasslands in Midlands, Middle Zambezi, Manapools, Lake Chiwero in Mashonaland West, then Monavale Vlei and Cleveland Dam in Harare, and Chinhoyi Caves. They have all been declared as wetland sites under the Ramsar Convention. Accordingly, the country has benefitingly been considered for hosting the Conference of Parties, that's COP15, and that will happen in 2025. The wetlands reclamation exercise successfully rehabilitated 3 wetland areas at Njovo in Masvingo District in Masvingo Province, then Nyamhara in Uzumba Maramba Pfungwe District in Mashonaland East Province, and Ndabambi in Gweru District in Midlands Province. Then on housing cooperatives and provision of workspaces for micro, small and medium enterprises, Cabinet has directed that discipline be enforced and maintained in the cooperative sector, that a proper financing model be availed for the sector, and that the abundant opportunities for standardized infrastructure and business development in the cooperative sector be fully exploited. A forensic audit of the unions will be conducted, followed by elections for new leadership, and penalties will be introduced for non-adherence to the Cooperative Societies Act. Then, pertaining to the prosecution of land and space barons, Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that there has been progress on new cases of land barons arrested under criminal abuse of duty and fraud, with a cumulative 31 arrests. These are high-profile cases being handled by the Criminal Investigations Department in Harare, while low-profile cases are being dealt with at police stations countrywide. The Zimbabwe Republic Police has received a total of 426 cases, and so far 10 convictions have been secured since the operation commenced. And the names of the land barons will be published as part of naming and shaming exercise. Then Cabinet moved on to receive a report on the launch of the Zimbabwe Anti-trafficking in Persons National Plan of Action. The Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, Honorable Kazembe Kazembe, briefed Cabinet on the launch of the Zimbabwe Anti-trafficking in Persons, the National Plan of Action for 2023 to 2028. The National Plan of Action will be launched on 5 April 2023 at the Harare International Conference Center by the Honorable Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care, General Retired Dr. CGD Chiwenga. The event starts at 900 hours. An awareness march will commence from Compensation House. As the nation may recall, Cabinet approved the National Plan of Action in 2022, and this is in line with Section 9.3 of the Trafficking in Persons Act. The plan will guide Zimbabwe in fighting human trafficking in accordance with national, regional, and international obligations. I want to thank you for listening.
For the question which was directed to me and requiring a comment on the successful synchronization of Unit 7 at Wangi Power Station. Yes, the synchronization was done on the 20th of March, where the unit started off at around 50 megawatts and it was being upgraded until it got to its maximum performance on the 31st of March, when it went to 335 megawatts. This is a testimony of good cooperation and the partnerships that are in existence between the government of Zimbabwe and the government of China. You might be aware that the Wang expansion project is a joint venture between ZPC and Sinohydro, which is a company from China. They are a stakeholder in the project, and at the same time they are the EPC contractors who were contracted to do the power station. And your question was, what is it that we did, probably which was not done by other countries where we heard that there were some failures. In our case, we required Sinohydro, who are the EPC contractors, to also have a stake in the project itself. So they were very diligent in the construction of the project, so that they will be able to also recoup their investment in the project. Apart from just being the contractors, they are also a stakeholder. So this is what we did as the government of Zimbabwe to ensure that the project will be up and running at the time of its completion. We managed to have the 300 megawatts, and we are also looking forward to an additional 300 megawatts that will be coming from Unit 8, which according to the project managers is supposed to be coming through in June. And what does that mean to Zimbabwe? It's going to add the capacity of internally generated electricity. Already with the addition that we got, the 300, that is actually lessened the burden that the power utility was having in terms of supplying electricity into the country, and the level of economic activity will obviously increase. Employment will also be created. Some industries will be revived with the availability of electricity into the country. Just to give you a profile of our internal generation at the moment, from the Wang stages 1 and 2, we are getting a combined capacity of around 400 megawatts. That's as of yesterday. And from Unit 7 alone is giving us 300 megawatts. Then from Kariba Power Station, as of yesterday, it was a range between 198 to about 600 megawatts, and that was being augmented by some production from the independent power producers who were doing between 68 to about 80 megawatts, and also some imports. But there has been a curtailment of our imports because of what's also obtaining in the region. I thank you.
And on the report, it's mentioned that 37%. Apparently, we were looking at the midterm, which is the target was 45%, and we believe that at the end of the cycle, which is 3 weeks' time, we'll have achieved the desired target. So it's not 37% as in failure to achieve, but for this particular cycle, this is what we're targeting, which is 45%. And I'm also happy to say we have completed 4 bridges out of the 13. And the civil works, apparently you might not be seeing the infrastructure coming out, but there's a lot of work that is being done in terms of the civil works. And you see that the acceleration of the project, which will then, by end of the year, you'll see tremendous development, and it happened to open to traffic in the first quarter of 2024, so that we'll be using the facility. And also, as alluded to by Madam Chair, in terms of the housing units, also to thank the Second Republic, the 220 units are complete, and we've already handed over to the Ministry of Local Government and National Housing, and the exercise was done on the 3rd of March. And this is state-of-the-art facility we are talking about, where we've got other amenities. We've got free Wi-Fi, we've got outdoor activities, we've got swimming pool on these facilities that would cater for the staff at the border posts, and it will cover all the stakeholders that are working at the facility, the new Beitbridge border post. And also in terms of the 70% that has been alluded again by Honorable Madam Chair, we are currently at 99%, and as of yesterday, also to thank and brag about the Second Republic, the last installation in terms of the aero bridges that would also accommodate the wide-bodied planes. We are talking of the Airbus 380. We have now received the aero bridges, and we are on 99% completion, and very soon we will be availing the facility, the arrival and the departure for use, and it will also play a very pivotal role in terms of enhancing our tourism in the country, and it will be one of our flagship projects. And I want to thank you so much. And in terms of the road network, again, Madam Chair, where you talked about the 60% on the 25 kilometers, because of the incessant rains, we were not having works, and now in the next 30 days, we are going to be opening close to 30 kilometers, surpassing the 25 kilometers as highlighted. Thank you, Honorable Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And let me also thank the questioner as to whether the synchronization of Unit 7 is seen an improvement. I think that's the question. The question.
Yes, right.
Improvement in the power supply situation in the country. Yes, there has been an improvement in the power supply situation in the country with the coming in of Unit 7, but you will also be cognizant of the fact that the unit is not yet available commercially. It shall be undergoing some commissioning tests which will be done at varying performance levels. They might test the unit at production, say, of 50 megawatts, depending on the compliances that they will be checking on. So this unit is not yet available commercially. It will be commissioned in June, and that's when we'll be expecting it to be fully available and fully functioning at a constant supply level. As we speak, it's still being tested, but though it's still being tested, whatever the output they are sending into the grid. So we don't expect ZETDC to immediately revise their load shedding schedule, but whenever there is that capacity available on the grid, obviously it will be availed for consumption. Again, you might also have noticed that at a time when Unit 7 came in, we started also to experience some challenges with power imports, particularly from South Africa. They are also having their own challenges there, and there has been a curtailment of power that is being imported from South Africa. So you might not have noticed some big changes with the coming in of Unit 7 that was occasioned by challenges with our capacity from imports. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank my honorable ministers who have been here answering your questions, and thank you all for coming. And obviously I want to come back to you, Chief Secretary, for closing.